everybody.
Hi, guys. Well, from cloudy Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank.
And I'm Dan.
And coming up today, your belief in science, folks.
We're going to talk about it.
It might be doing something you weren't thinking it was doing.
Are you religious about
your
science? That's a question. It's a real question.
Yeah.
We're going to answer
We're
it.
taking, I don't know. Who did the study, Dan?
Folks.
People. Anyway, we'll talk about it all later, but it's got a funny twist to it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Dan, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm welcome.
How you doing?
I'm great.
How you doing over there?
I'm doing good.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Do you have a story you want to tell us, or do you want to just welcome me to my own home?
Yeah. Actually, I want to start with this one about a man who received one heck of a sentence from a judge.
Yeah.
Okay. He has been sentenced to get married.
Oh.
Or face jail time.
Of course he has. Oh.
So
boy, I've been under that gun.
East Texas man Jostin Bundy.
Okay.
Or Jostin. Yostin?
Pretty sure you're making that name up.
Yostin,
but okay.
maybe. He was sentenced to get married to his 19-year-old girlfriend as part of his probation, as well as he has to write Bible verses, I guess like on the chalkboard or something, and he needs to get counseling because his girlfriend's ex-boyfriend was sort of getting up all in their shit, and so he challenged him to a fight. Bundy did,
and wait.
So he hit him in the jaw twice.
Yeah, so they got in a fight.
They got in a fight.
I get that.
The guy pressed charges,
and then the
judge.
Punishment for this.
The punishment
is marriage?
Is marriage. Well, the judge asked, he said, "Are you two married?" Because the girlfriend was in court with her boyfriend. And they're like, "No, not yet." And so he inquires a little bit more about whether or not they're planning on getting married. And yes. What? And then the judge swoops in with, "You have 2 weeks to get married."
What?
And if you don't, then you have to serve 15 days in jail.
Jesus Christ. You know what? Fuck you. I'm taking the jail. Even if I was going to marry her, you can't tell me to marry somebody.
No, I know.
That's crazy talk. Yeah. Also, not for nothing, the whole Bible verses thing is some bullshit.
It's all bullshit.
It's all bullshit.
The judge can't order you to go marry someone.
No.
He cannot.
I love it, though. I think if he was really going to punish this guy, he should have made his girlfriend marry the other guy.
Now, sweetheart.
Honey, this ain't about you. This is about these two boys here. You're going to have to marry that other kid.
Well, it's also not about the endless hours that she had spent watching Say Yes to the Dress, apparently, and thinking about the dress that she would have someday, and that she wasn't able to procure because she only had 2 weeks to do it.
That's actually doing her a favor.
Her father was unable to attend because he couldn't get off work or something like that. And like it's just this horrid. Now, granted, they took it all very seriously. This was actually them getting married. All they needed to do was go sign some papers, say fuck you to the judge, still not be actually married in their own eyes, or be.
Yeah, but
and then
it
go
counts.
do their own ceremony.
Nope, it counts.
6 months later, go do the thing. Fuck you, judge. You crossed the line.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
And there should
Where
be
was this again?
East Texas somewhere.
Oh, well, in Texas, I think everything's legal.
Smith County.
I think judges can just do whatever they want in Texas. I'm pretty sure.
Well, I think that's what judges believe as
rule.
Well. They've seen one too many TV shows or movies where that Texas judge.
Right. Yeah.
He's a no-nonsense Texas judge. He's not. Anyway.
It's just a shame that that Walker Texas Ranger isn't true. isn't real.
Okay.
And I feel like
How does this tie in?
I don't know. I feel like he should be also the judge of all of Texas. There shouldn't be a Supreme Court. There should just be Walker, Texas Ranger.
Walker, Texas judge.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
should be promoted.
Yeah.
Yeah, now that he's a little
Not a ranger
older,
anymore.
he's a little older. His roundhouse kicks are not quite as high.
Yeah.
Like he'll still get your head, but he won't like get the top of your head. He'll get you sort of in the jaw region.
Yeah. He can run. He can run for judge.
We'll let Chuck Norris be the judge of Texas, official judge of Texas.
Doing good.
That's right. He won't just sentence you to get married. He will ensure that you do it. He'll be there.
Yeah.
Ready to kick some ass if you don't do it.
I'd like to see those gavel strikes.
Yeah. Oh,
good gavel strikes.
that dude, he needs a new bench every week. Because that gavel goes straight through. Kapow!
And you don't need no bailiff. He's his own bailiff.
He is judge, jury, bailiff, executioner, all of the things. That guy will do everything. He runs security when you go in.
No.
He's the one that's checking you for metal.
Yeah.
He actually says you can have anything, guns, bring them into my courtroom. I will kick your ass. You bring it in, but you're not going to take it out.
He's got reflexes. He's got good reflexes.
Oh yeah. He'll be on you like flies on shit. All right. So, speaking of Texas...
Oh, good. More Texas.
You and I have driven through most of Texas. We've seen
a couple weeks.
A good swath of Texas.
Yeah.
Would you say it's a beautiful place?
It has... It's an acquired taste, I think.
Would you say that it has an abundance of natural beauty?
No.
I would say not.
Chippewa Falls... There was some country around Chippewa Falls that was lovely.
I don't recall that. Anyway, what I'm getting at is that there has been a new study that suggests, this is out of Baylor University, that if you live around an abundance of natural beauty, you're less likely to be religious.
Shush your face.
And if you're
What?
And if you're living in an area that has very little beauty, you're more likely to be religious. Apparently, according to the authors of this study, you are more likely you like beauty, natural beauty fills some of the need in humans. Yeah. It's Thoreau, right?
Yeah.
It's that sense of like, if you have the natural wonder, you don't need the spiritual food that some people feel that they need and get from religion.
Going on a hike, going up into the mountains, it can be
it's frequently
religious or not religious, but spiritual
experience. People frequently describe seeing, the sunset over the ocean or seeing,
so the coasts.
a deer walk past.
Does this explain the coasts?
It explains. It does a little bit. Apparently,
the Pacific Northwest.
Apparently, even
does this explain Scandinavia?
It may. Scandinavia is gorgeous. It doesn't explain it entirely.
It doesn't explain Utah,
but there is. Well, Utah came here. I think you got to give it some time.
No, yeah, you're right.
The religion came here. So you got to give it a chance. But it is interesting
because people
because
are really willing to just step away from like religion. When they leave Mormonism, they usually just
they just leave.
I'm done.
They just don't have religion.
I'm going to go on a hike.
You guys, you have to understand, Utah is beautiful.
It's
so fucking beautiful. But yeah, I mean, apparently in this study, they control, even when they would control for other things that might affect it, this correlation held up. Counties with higher levels of natural amenities were associated with lower rates of religious affiliation.
That's amazing.
And pretty much universally.
We need to start a tree planting campaign in Texas.
Right?
Just, if nothing else, get them some trees.
Get them. Let's build them a mountain. They need it. We're going to build you guys a mountain in Texas. We've got plenty here. We'll take a couple from Colorado.
Sure. Just load them up. Get a U-Haul.
Yeah, we'll drop some in Nebraska on the way because they need it, and Kansas. Whew.
Yeah.
They all need it.
Yeah.
It's funny because I've always thought, my line about our mountains is that, like, when I go to flat places, I wonder how the people know how small they are. Because if you don't have mountains looming over you, you just don't know.
Yeah.
But now it seems like that there's actually, I mean, that's a silly way of wording it, but there's actually something to it. Like, if you don't have stuff around you, beauty around you, then you have very little perspective, I feel. And you have to, and then Jesus creeps in. He's a creeper, that Jesus. Anyway,
okay.
There you go.
All right. Well, I'd like to go to a beautiful place.
Oh, please do.
That has plenty of religion. Italy.
Ah, la bella Italia.
Yes, indeed. Although the Italians have found ways to junk it up.
Sure,
but,
of course.
It started pretty.
You're gonna.
And, but all that. All right, let's see. There's this priest in this small Tuscan town that is offering residents of his community a bonus.
Okay.
Cash bonus. 2,000 euro bonus to any family who has 3 or more children.
Oh, we're incentivizing procreation here.
Yes, because Italy has a negative birth rate at the moment.
Okay.
And these little towns are just having the hardest of hard times. They really are just they're dying because everybody just moves away.
Right.
And so anyway, yeah. So he is. They're not quite sure how long they're going to be able to offer this because they don't have a ton of money.
Right.
But he's totally willing to put the money up. And this is already after the Italian government has already promised low income families 80 euros a month for each child under 3 years old.
Socialism.
I know, right? Italy is definitely facing a problem with their birth rate.
Well, but so I just typed in population of Italy, and the graph that Google has pulled up for me is showing a very slow but existent increase in population.
They do have some immigration.
Oh, well.
But their birth rate is negative.
Oh, so the population that they're gaining is the wrong sorts of people?
There's definitely that in Italy. Yes.
A little xenophobia there.
Yeah, no. Families typically, I mean, it's not too common to see families with more than just 1 or 2 kids.
Yeah.
I mean, it's rare.
Which is shocking considering like the whole Catholic, no. Well, you're not allowed to use birth control.
The beauty thing. They don't really. Come on. They're Catholic, but they're not really Catholic.
Right.
They really don't. That's not where they find their inspiration.
Yeah.
If
you go to the cathedral on Easter, it's going to be packed.
Yeah.
You go there you go there next Sunday.
Right.
Not going to be a lot of people there.
Right. Yeah. Now that actually raised an interesting thought, though, that ties back into your last story, which is at least like when Catholics in like Italy go to church, they're also experiencing beauty in the space.
Yeah.
Right.
At least there's that.
There's that. Like going back to like Texas and these little yucky churches.
Wait, you don't find a double wide? It's just beautiful.
It must leave people really, really wanting and struggling for any kind of inspiration.
Oh yeah,
and
you go into any Mormon church, any Mormon ward.
Bleak.
Anything built after say 1978 or something like that.
Yeah.
It's the worst spiritual experience of your life.
Right.
Like you're just gonna feel shitty.
Yeah.
In that building.
Yeah.
Because content isn't everything.
No.
And the content's awful there, too. So, they got nothing. They are offering nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad. But yeah, you go into those cathedrals, you go into some of those really beautiful old churches.
I mean, they're amazing.
They're fantastic.
Maybe that's the problem.
It's
the the Catholics built up so much beauty around their people.
Yeah.
That they're just like, fuck it. Who cares?
Yeah, they got chapels painted by Michelangelo. You're gonna go to church.
Even just the looming cathedrals over the town square, they're gorgeous. You don't have to go inside to feel some sort of like spiritual,
But if you want to
moved by,
if you want to get in out of the heat, and you happen to be walking past, walk in.
They're gorgeous,
beautiful.
Lovely.
All right. Well, Frank and I are apparently converting to Catholicism.
No.
You may have heard a few weeks ago. I didn't do the story, but I was tempted to. Back in July, a sheriff in Missouri, decided that he was going to put "In God We Trust" on all of his cop cars.
Oh yeah, good.
He
needs to trust.
He needs to trust in somebody, and I'm guessing that the people of Missouri don't trust in the police. So,
oh god.
Anyway, I'm going to point this out: the "In God We Trust" decals all have quotation marks around it.
In God we trust.
We kind of trust. I mean,
in God we trust.
In God we trust.
Is God in quotes or just
the whole quote is in quotes?
God.
Yeah, right.
We trust.
Right. It's hard to do air quotes in audio.
Well, that's why you just have to say everything
really douchey. Anywho, what's weird about this is that so it's troubling, obviously, because it's a religious sentiment on a government thing.
Yeah, no, it's
but
bad.
Unfortunately, that is our national motto, for better or for worse. And the states and the courts of this country have basically neutralized that phrase. It's pretty impossible to get that taken off of anything because it is our national motto. So this guy got away with it. Well, now an Alabama sheriff has taken it a step further.
Bible verses?
You got it.
Shut up.
Skaboom! Matthew 5:9.
No.
Blessed are the peacemakers. Which, by the way, is a sentiment I can get behind a cop believing.
Yeah.
I'm all for cops believing that they are peacemakers and not warmongers.
Yeah.
Which seems to be what cops have been doing around the country.
Yeah.
So I'm all for that sentiment. But you can't put a Bible verse on the cop cars. The decal, which every single outlet that I've seen report about this, insists on reporting that the decals cost $1.60 a piece. I don't know why. I mean, I guess because one of the complaints is that it's taxpayer money that's being used to do this.
It's only $1.60, folks.
Don't worry
There's
about
only
it.
4 of these cruisers in this town.
It's $1.60. I mean, what are you going to get upset about that? But as one reader on the, I guess the sheriff's official Facebook page, as one reader pointed out, too bad our tax money was spent on decals they will have to remove. That's a
like
thing.
Doubly expensive,
right? Somebody's got to install them.
Yeah.
Then somebody's got to take them off.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is happening.
Boy,
there's no resolution to it yet. I'm gonna guess that the FFRF might get involved on that one. Hard to say.
Wow. So maybe about $16 were spent. Maybe 32.
Well, I mean, you're not including the hourly wage of all of the worker who's installing these workers who are installing these things.
Someone who's just not. It's just some cop who's not, out patrolling.
Who's in trouble? Who's on administrative leave or something like that?
No, instead of patrolling like he should be, he's putting decals on the cars.
Yeah.
It's anyway,
Officer Farva.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. So you know about ISIS, right, Dan?
I don't know all about ISIS, but I know some things about ISIS.
The Islamic State.
Yeah.
nonsense that's happening, right? Over in Syria,
bunch
right?
of men and women, some women of whom I disapprove.
Yeah, and they've got some questionable, how shall we say, practices
Yeah.
with regards to women in general.
Oh.
Right. Like,
Well,
they kind of don't really value women.
What?
I mean, this is kind of this is I know it's shocking, but it's Islam in general. They've got some problems. And not to make light of it, but whatever. So there was a group of young Chechen women who basically crafted their own mail order bride scam.
Yes. Wait.
So when ISIS reached out to them, or one of them, or whatever, or they came across some sort of ISIS recruitment type stuff, they kind of got themselves in touch with some ISIS recruiters who they said that they told these guys that they were totally interested in coming to join the jihad, but they just needed some money for travel funds. And
also, you can have all this money that my Nigerian prince brother wants to get.
Exactly. And so they the jihadis, this wasn't strange for them. This is actually a common request, and it's fulfilled. They send money to help them. They send money and gifts and all sorts of stuff. They'll do anything to recruit, right?
Yeah, and especially the girls, they're not recruiting to like fight. They're recruiting as like wife fodder.
Well, I've seen bands of women all completely covered up with their rifles,
with their guns.
And going out. And it seems like they're fighting too.
No, that was just
Muslim
that
women.
was a quilting bee. That's how they do that in ISIS.
Interesting sewing equipment. I mean, I don't know how much you know about Chechnya, but I mean, it has a very large Muslim community.
Yeah.
And so they, I'm sure these young women either are or were posing as young Islamic or Muslim women,
right?
And so they would be going to fight the kind of stuff that you're talking about. The taking just, they're just taking the local people who they don't view as a part of ISIS.
No, I've read about them actually recruiting women for marriage and all sorts of stuff.
Okay, so they're doing that too, I guess. But they, anywho, these women were going to fight.
Were they?
Yes, they were.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So anyway, but here's what happened. They made about $3,300 off the whole deal. But then the Chechen online crimes unit caught wind of it, and now they're like being charged with fraud.
They're in trouble?
They're in trouble for defrauding ISIS.
You know what? That's a thing. You can't defraud ISIS.
You can't defraud anyone, apparently.
Is ISIS pressing charges? Because it's not like they're gonna.
I don't know how Chechnyan law works.
Yeah.
If somebody needs to press charges in this kind of case. I mean, if you're caught doing a crime, you're caught, doing a crime.
This seems like millions of people need to be doing this. Need to be somehow under false pretenses contacting ISIS, saying, "I want to come over. I believe in your fight," which has been happening for real.
Yeah.
So if you can make it authentic enough, great, and then just make them send you money.
I wouldn't actually recommend that.
Well, apparently it's illegal for one thing.
Well, the problem is being in touch with them and saying that you're going to come fight is you're going to get yourself in a heap of hurt
you'll be on a list. You'll be pulled out of line for at the airport.
Well, I mean, I just read an article this morning. About a young couple in Mississippi. They weren't even en route yet, but they were hauled off.
Okay.
So believe me, you don't want to play around with this stuff.
I kind of do.
Okay.
I kind of still do.
Folks, don't listen to Dan on this one. Yeah, you do not want to play around with this. The FBI will be all over you.
Absolutely.
And
They will.
And you don't want
The CIA is probably also
sure
going to be. Yeah, it's not going to be good.
So, anyway, so that is going on.
And actually, I'm sure that the reason that the CIA would get pissed about it is because you'd be like stepping on their toes because they're already doing the same thing.
Probably. Hopefully they are.
I'm sure they are.
I mean, they should be, trying to siphon money away from ISIS.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the thing here. Like for it to be the fraud people in Chechnya who catch them and say that it's a bad thing. No, that's not the agency that should be like catching these women.
Well, the other agencies are probably just letting them do it and watching.
Sure.
Anyway, that's amazing. I think defrauding ISIS is hilarious. That's awesome. I am going to take us to back to Texas, where a really rare occurrence has taken place, and that is a professional football player has come out of the closet as atheist.
Oh, well, fantastic.
Yeah, it's a very rare thing to have happen in a world where football, for some reason, and sports in general, has a strong religious life in the United States of America.
Yeah.
Football players, football's huge in the South. And football players tend to be subjected to a whole lot. When this guy was in, the player's name is Arian Foster. I find Arian to be a strange name for a black man, but that's okay. Anyway, no, you're just gonna let that one hang.
I'm just letting you go there, Dan.
You don't find that weird?
It's a strange name, period.
It's a strange name, period. Yes. Anyway, Mr. Foster was raised Muslim. Mm-hmm. His father was Muslim, but when he started struggling with his faith, his father said, "Go on out there and find your thing." So that was a really nice thing for his dad to say.
Yeah, that's.
But here's the thing: when he was in college football, he was required by the team to go to church.
Was he at a little Christian school or something?
He was at. I don't think so. Where is it? Oh, I was reading all about it, and now I've lost the name of his thing. Anyway, yeah, he was required to go to church. He was required to as a team builder. Oh no, University of Tennessee.
Oh wow. He
was a philosophy major. That won't help your religious beliefs sometimes. But yeah, it was a quote team building thing. But he was required to attend church services. They had all kinds of Bible readings and chapel outside of practice. But yeah, he realized that it wasn't for him, and now he has come out of the closet as being a non-believer. He doesn't like to use the word atheist, but
scary word.
It's a terrifying word. Every time I say it, I shudder. But that's,
that's good. We need more people being honest about who they are.
Right.
I mean, that's,
Yeah.
Is he good? Is he a good football player?
Well, I'm shocked that you don't know that, Frank. You and I being such avid sports fans. He is one of the Houston Texans players. I'm not going to say a star player because I don't know at all. I don't know anything about football.
Well, it could be in the article. They say, and he's actually quite good.
Also,
good. That's good enough for me.
Yeah. Well, he made it to the NFL.
So he's
that's a big deal.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's good. He plays well at the football.
People be coming out of the closet for all the things in the sports.
Oh, yeah.
Next thing you know, you'll have, someone coming out of the closet as someone who likes to have sex with animals. It's a slippery slope, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh.
In the sports.
Yeah, no, it's true. I was thinking maybe just more something innocuous.
It all leads to that. Sex with animals eventually.
Hoarder. I'm a hoarder.
Right, yeah. They come out of the closet as liking Beyonce, as being obsessed with Beyonce.
Beanie Babies.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I just love my Beanie Babies.
I am a collector of thimbles and small collectible spoons.
I have one for every NFL team.
One of the great advantages to being in the NFL is that I get to travel the country, and everywhere I go,
Collect the spoons.
I get a shot glass. So that's...
Well, a shot glass, I could see someone like that's not. I mean, a guy collecting shot glasses, that's no big deal.
You're not allowed to drink out of them, though. Those are my collectibles.
Those are the collectibles. They're still in their packaging.
Yeah.
I don't know if they
Yeah, well.
Shot glasses don't really come in packaging, but that's fine.
Who started
right.
this? You started this.
Yes.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you have anything to say about any of the stories that we've been talking about, including if you are a collector of things and we just made fun of you, you can complain by writing to us at podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Yeah, but while you might collect one of those things, you're probably not also in the NFL.
Right.
But if you want to complain about that,
about being in the NFL,
424-666-8442.
Yeah, leave us a voicemail there. Hey, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist.
Or also on Facebook, search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge and request to join. It is a closed group, so we have to let you in.
It is a closed group. Yeah. So there we go. We got
a break.
We'll take a little Patty break
Robertson.
here. Pat has some things to say.
He's the thing that I think we've talked about in the past, but we haven't really had like a prime example of.
Right.
Is how he contradicts himself.
What?
Right.
Never.
Like we. And this is just absolutely amazing. Like, just everybody keep in mind everything that you know about Pat Robertson, and then listen to this clip.
Yeah.
All right, a viewer says, I was wondering if you could explain to me the difference in the 10 Commandments given by God versus the laws given in Leviticus. A coworker told me that the other day that people can't consider themselves Christian if they don't obey all of the laws in the Bible. For example, in Leviticus, the Bible says that a husband cannot be in the same room with his wife on her period. Why don't we keep the Leviticus laws anymore? As Christians, is it okay to only follow the written law and not the Levitical law?
You read the Bible, Jesus Christ fulfilled all the law. All of the law is fulfilled in him, and when he died, he paid the penalty for the law. There is therefore now no law against the people of God. There's only one law, the law of love, that you love each other. And the idea that you've got to stay out of a room with a menstruating woman or something, I'm not sure where you found that either, but nevertheless, wherever you found it, you don't have to worry about it, because what you do is love each other, that you have love for one another. This is the commandment I give you. All the rest of it, love God, love your neighbors yourself.
So that's all you have to do, Dan, apparently. He's...
I have a lot of ums right now, in part because, first of all, I love that the person who wrote in said, how do we, I want to talk about the 10 Commandments versus the Levitical law.
Yeah. 10
Commandments predate the Levitical law.
Yeah, it's a funny
question.
question.
Exodus.
Yeah, it's a funny question because... what Pat Robertson is talking about here with Jesus fulfilling all the law, that is what the New Testament says.
Right, which means that you can ignore all of the 10 Commandments.
All of the Old Testament is supposed to have fallen away.
Right.
He's provided the new law. Or at least that's how a lot of people look at it. And so Pat Robertson saying this...
Right, for Pat Robertson to believe that...
Well, for Pat Robertson to believe it, it's nuts.
It's crazy
because it doesn't jibe with anything else he's ever said, really.
Right.
Like, because he's the one who loves to look back at the Old Testament and say and find, the verse in Leviticus that talks about homosexuality.
Right.
He's
and
great
he'll
with
say,
that
and
one.
he'll say, God is very clear about this.
Yeah.
God's absolutely unequivocally clear about this.
So, but now,
But
it's really just three. You just have to love yourself, love God, and love your neighbor. But it's just love. Love.
yeah.
Pat Robertson.
But if the Bible does happen to say something along the lines of, and if a woman have an issue, and her issue in her flesh be blood, she shall be put apart 7 days, and whosoever toucheth her shall be unclean until the even.
I believe that.
Don't touch that girl if she's on her period. I really feel like if you believe in hating on gays, you can't have shrimp, and you have to ask women if they're on their period before you touch them.
Absolutely. You're just playing it safe.
Yeah, you can't sit in the same chair as a woman who has been menstruating.
No.
You can't. There are rules about menstruation, people.
This is why it's best just to keep them elsewhere.
Yeah.
Just
Just-
I think, Islam might have it right. Just cover them up. Keep them in the house. Don't let them do anything.
Yeah.
God forbid let them drive a car.
The second they start doing things, we're all in trouble. You let the women do stuff. Oh, boy.
Oh, mercy me. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that happened, everyone.
So, apparently, unless it's inconvenient for him, Pat Robertson believes that the law is just love. Just love everybody.
love.
That's the only law.
Until the homos enter the room.
Until it's about like something that grosses him out a little
finds
bit.
icky.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if he
yeah.
doesn't, or if he feels like he can no longer control you enough to make you give him money.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's something in Leviticus about that.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, we had some folks write into us, and we have a voicemail as well.
We do, yes.
I will pull up this. There we go. Stevie, she writes, as in Nix, not Wonder. So I assume that means we're dealing with a female Stevie.
Or maybe it's really Stevie Nicks.
It is Stevie Nicks. Stevie Nicks has written into us.
Okay, cool.
And she says, hello, gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to tell you that I love the podcast and eagerly await for a new episode every week. Secondly, I have an oddly funny story about the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier in D.C. that was mentioned in your last episode.
Okay.
You'll recall that we were talking about moving bodies and
Right, and specifically sort of having a focal point for your grief.
right,
Yeah.
a physical place or whatever. She says, I visited D.C. with my Catholic school in 8th grade, and we went to the tomb to lay a wreath and present a prayer service during the changing of the guard, which, if you have not seen it, takes for fucking ever.
Yeah, it does. But it's pretty cool at the same time.
Right. Well, not if you're in 8th grade.
Oh, I guess not. But there's like some precision marching going on.
Oh, that's the kind of thing you would have been super into. I can imagine like 8th grade Frank being
They've
like,
got their rifles and they're like perfectly like
right. And
Flip
yeah,
it around.
exactly. It's flippy and
Yeah.
and then you stand in exactly the same spot and then you
Yeah.
turn and walk.
and very fit men.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Some
Oh,
good
yeah.
looking Marines there.
Uniform going on. Yeah.
Anyway, Stevie goes on. We were kind of pumped because there was an audience to witness it and everything. And then we were informed prior to the event that the remains of the soldier had been identified and were reburied in Arlington Cemetery. So there was actually no soldier in the tomb.
What?
The Marine officers were guarding nobody, and our wreath laying was a big fat waste of time. Our wreath laying was a big fat waste of time. I don't even know why they told us. That's a very good point.
That is a good point.
We all thought it was really funny, and half of our group decided to go out and get donuts instead. Today, I feel the same way. Whether or not someone is in the tomb doesn't really matter. And for 6 hours at a time, some poor Marine has to march back and forth like a robot just to make someone feel a little sense of hope that it could be their loved one inside that marble case. Anyway, thank you for all you do, and keep on doing it. That's pretty...
Yeah. It's
pretty
still,
funny.
in my mind, it's still a monument to all the fallen who didn't come home.
Yeah, it's
You know?
more... exactly.
And that's why it has power and meaning to me.
Yeah, I can't say this definitively because I'm not in this position, but I feel like if one of my loved ones was an unknown soldier, was a soldier that never came home or that may have come home but we can't identify.
Right.
I don't know if it would matter to me that there's a monument specifically, but it seems like it's a nice thing to do to honor them.
Yeah.
I don't know about having a soldier there all the time, but it matters to soldiers.
It does.
So
Yeah.
that, it's fine.
And those soldiers who are there are probably honored. I mean, you think about making the march for 6 hours a day.
Right.
It's it's got to suck on some levels, but I mean, they're probably
No, my understanding is that
delighted to be
my
there.
understanding is that that group of Marines is like an elite group,
Yeah.
and they love
They're
it's
all about
it's a
it.
huge honor to
Yeah.
be part of that group.
Yeah.
Anywho, hi Frank. Oh, do you want I was going to do this, but let's play the voicemail first.
So this is a very self-explanatory voicemail, so I'm just going to go ahead and play it.
Cool.
Hey guys, this is Ethan. I would like to have some advice. I am raised Mormon, and recently I've decided that it's time for me to come out as an atheist and as gay. So I would like some advice on how you confronted your family about this and how you guys went about of leaving the Mormons and your experience with that. So thank you. It'd really help out. Bye.
Thank you for the call, Ethan.
Yeah. This is we talk about this every now and then.
Yeah.
And it's always an incredibly difficult thing to talk about. So
Yeah.
the first thing I want to say to you, Ethan, is whatever we say, it applies to what we guess is happening, and it doesn't necessarily apply to your actual life. And you're going to have to make calls based on what you know of your life.
You know your parents and family and your situation.
And we don't.
Yeah, exactly.
So
only you can make the decision as to whether or not you're going to be coming out into, I guess, a safe environment is the best way of saying it. I was an adult when I came out, and from the sound of your voice, you sound like you're still pretty young.
Yeah.
And so if you are still at home, you need to be really careful.
You do.
I was in college. I was just home for the summer, and my parents cornered me.
Right.
And they wanted to know why I wasn't going to church. I mean, that was really the crux of the whole thing. And somehow they knew I wasn't going to church. They're spies.
Yes.
You know.
Well, I'm guessing that your bishop at BYU contacted
Probably
them.
called them.
Yeah.
Which seems so incredibly inappropriate to me. But nonetheless, so they sat me down and wanted to talk about that, and I said, well, to be honest, I don't really see any need to be going to church since I don't believe it. I don't believe in God.
Right.
And I really just kind of laid it out there for them. We talked about that for a while. And then toward the end of the conversation, and the conversation had kind of irritated me, which wasn't a good thing because of what was about to happen.
Which you weren't prepared for either.
Yeah. And so my dad says to me, well, I mean, I guess as long as you're not gay, we can work on this as long as, and my mom was just like, what? I mean, the Mormon equivalent of what the fuck,
right? What are you even talking about, Frank Sr.? That's a ridiculous thing to say.
It was more what I gathered from how she said it was we agreed to not talk about that. And so I looked at him and I was a little pissed off, and I said, well, actually I am.
Damn.
And so I wasn't really in control of the situation.
Right.
I wasn't the one who decided to come clean.
Which is always one of the dangers of living in a
parents.
closet. One of the dangers of living in a closet is always that the conversation might be forced on you in a way that you don't have control over.
Now, I'm really glad that it happened when it did. I was still fairly young, and it did help facilitate sort of the rest of my coming out. I had already started to come out to like close friends.
Right.
By that point. So fortunately, I didn't feel any need to kind of have to continue hiding, because I knew that when going back to school, I I had a support group.
Right.
And I think that's key, Ethan, here, is you have to know what you have out in the world.
Right.
Right.
You look around at your life. Do you have people who will support you?
Yeah.
Who you know will support you, who you know will be able to be there for
Yeah.
you? Because there's a strong possibility that there will be people who won't be able to, who will reject you.
Yeah. Now, more and more Mormon parents are getting good on the subject. And I actually want to, if you decide to tell your parents, you may want to refer your mom to a group called the Mama Dragons.
Oh.
They're a group of Mormon women who have young LGBT, children, but they're supportive,
Right.
and they're a support group for each other. They actually run their own little closed Facebook page, just like we have our closed group,
Right.
But anyway,
It may be early for that. I would say start with the Mormon Church has its own website called mormonsandgays.org.
but the thing,
It's not pro-gay,
no.
but it's a good resource it's a transitional resource. And the reason that I bring it up is because it has quotes on it like, the experience of same-sex attraction is a complex reality for many people.
Right.
The attraction itself is not a sin. But I mean, it basically, it's sort of there to guide parents.
I would not
who want to believe.
I would not say don't tell your parents about mormonsandgays.org. But I would say that they're not going to find a lot of real support there. It's the things that parents are looking for, potentially supportive parents, are not going to find the kind of things that they're looking for on that website.
No.
Because
but that's
that
not why I'm
website-
suggesting it. The reason that I'm suggesting that website is because we're not looking for supportive parents yet. We're looking to transition parents from being. My concern is that these parents may have very anti-gay beliefs already,
Right.
And if you can use their own church to transition them into, well, we're still required to love you,
Right.
then that's at least then at least you know that their own church tells them to support you.
Right. And that's a good first step.
But yeah, I'm just baby stepping it here.
Right. But eventually they're going to want to be talking to other parents because they're going to feel isolated.
Right.
I don't know where you live, how large of a town you're in.
Right.
But there's a good chance that Mormon parents, no matter where they are going to feel initially very isolated, unless there's just so happens to be the family down the block in the ward,
Right.
who's already been through what they're potentially about to go through.
But here's the other thing: you need to prepare because they may freak the fuck out.
Yeah.
And if they do, your life can be made very, very bad indeed.
And we are making a couple assumptions about his age.
Yeah.
Well,
So if you are young, if you're in high school, you need to assess how difficult it is to not be out of the closet, which is a valid consideration. But you need to counterbalance that with how difficult your parents might make your life until you actually have a chance to leave their home. And for some people, it may be better to stay in the closet until they are safely out of the home and are independent.
Yeah.
And then can meet their parents on that sort of more level ground. For some, that may not be tolerable. It may be too hard to be in a closet. It may be too lonely to not be able to be your authentic self. In which case, you need to make this call for yourself.
yeah.
But it's a good idea to start by coming out to other people first who are going to be safer, so that you have some practice coming out, because it's something that's not easy to do. It might not be a bad idea to find some resources for your parents. If mormonsandgays.org doesn't float your boat, there are lots of resources for parents so that you can be ready for them when they have questions. And also good luck.
Yes. Indeed. Good luck, Ethan.
Yeah, find the resources. We're not the best resources. We're just a couple of schmucks talking on the radio.
All right. So, you have another email, Dan?
I do. Let me pull that up. So, hi, Frank and Dan. Actually, this person says, hi, Dan and Frank. They put me first, which is nice. It's not.
Bucking the trend.
It's not a big deal, one way or the other. A long-time listener to the show, you two crack me up and are so pleasant about your atheism that even my theistic husband enjoys your show. As a matter of fact, oh, hey, Taylor, cover your husband's ears right now because we'll have fun with this. As a matter of fact, I think his passive eavesdropping while I listen is starting to chip away at his childhood Baptist indoctrination.
Uh-oh.
High five. High five indeed. We'll chip away, Taylor's husband.
Yes, okay.
It won't hurt you, I promise. Anyway, Taylor goes on, I wanted to add my 2 cents to the whole moving grandma's body discussion. I lost my little brother to suicide in 2013, 2 days before his 27th birthday. A year later, my family and I gathered to scatter his ashes near one of his favorite spots in our hometown of Miami, on the water. My rather large nuclear family ranges from my Bible-beaten sister and her husband to 6s and 7s on the Dawkins scale. As an atheist, I think that Alex's soul is sitting on I don't think that Alex's soul is sitting on a cloud smoking weed with Bob Marley and Jesus, although if I'm wrong and heaven is a thing, that's precisely what he's doing. We know we are not going to see him again in the afterlife. Because we know that, the essence of who he is has died. The essence of who he was died with his brain and body. That makes the attachment to his remains that much more significant. He was his body and vice versa. Without his body, there is no Alex. I think he would have been pleased with where we scattered his ashes, as it was a location that he treasured while he was alive. And it gives us solace to know that what remains of him is a part of the place that he loves or loved. Mm-hmm. All that said, I can't understand how religious people are so committed to their loved ones' remains that they feel it's necessary to dig them up and relocate them. If you are a Christian, don't you believe that the body was just a vessel for the soul? Isn't the important thing that you can pray and grandma can hear it? These superstitious people crack me up sometimes. Thanks for reading my email, and FYI, still waiting for Dan to vet me for the members-only lounge. Taylor, I looked for you after I read this and couldn't find you. So there's a thing that I just want to bring up quickly for the members-only lounge before we, talk about this, which is that every now and then I'll accidentally just tap on the wrong thing, like my finger will accidentally touch something, and you may disappear. Your request may disappear, and I haven't let you in yet.
Oh, boy.
So
if you belong, and you belong,
if you know you, and if you're listening to this, you do belong,
right?
Then and you see that that I haven't gotten to you, and it's been a couple weeks or whatever. Check in with it. Go and re-request.
Yeah, try again.
I apologize. I am by no means perfect at this. Anyway, thanks for writing in, Taylor. That was yes, that's an interesting point that you've made. What with the Christians believing that the body... I don't know what it is with Christians and the body.
Resurrection. You got to protect the body.
Yeah, but there's so many problems with that idea.
You need the resurrection. You want to be buried next to them so that when you both, resurrect, you're like, oh, hey, Grandma.
Yeah, exactly.
Seen you in a while.
Yeah.
Except we just saw each other as spirits, but now, hey, haha.
It's so weird. The whole resurrection thing bothers me. I mean, Mormons really believe in this resurrection thing. And
they pretty much all do.
But
Mormons are crazy about it.
But they get all uppity, all crazy about it, and then it falls apart as soon as you notice that if somebody burned up in a fire in a hotel or whatever.
They were just translated, Dan.
What happens?
They were translated. They were just taken to
What
heaven.
happens to all these unknown soldiers? What happens? I feel like it doesn't matter what you do with a body. I feel like there's no way that you can justify that theistically. Anyway, thanks for writing in. So we were going to talk about this article that we both
we both came across this article that has a very, very strong little bias. in it.
Right. As so many do. So many.
But the headline says, "Be careful. Your love of science looks a lot like religion."
Right.
And
this is Quartz that published this article. I don't know much about Quartz, but it got us thinking.
Yeah.
That's the idea, is that there are several points in this article that are very interesting. They quote a couple studies, or they reference a couple studies.
right.
One of which is a study published in 2013 in the Journal of Experimental Social Psychology.
Ooh, sounds very fancy.
It is very fancy. And they said that when subjects were stressed, they were more likely to agree to statements typifying what they're calling scientism, meaning that statements such as, quote, "the scientific method is the only reliable path to knowledge."
Okay.
People who believed in science, who didn't have a religious belief, were more likely to adhere to that, which is a pretty extreme statement, the only reliable path to knowledge, if they were stressed.
How did they stress them out?
I
Heavy
don't know.
workload?
I think they poked them.
Jumped around from corners?
A number of times. They just continually
Scared
poked them.
Startled? Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, that's interesting.
They cited another.
So is there a similar study that was done on religious folk? Where they put them under stress? And,
and it turns out
an analogous question.
Yeah, it turns out that religious people who are stressed are more likely to be solid in their God beliefs.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I remember when I was a kid.
As a matter of fact, they talk about another study at the University of Amsterdam in 2010 that found that, quote, they say uncertain subjects expressed an increase in faith in God or in evolution under stress.
Well, here's the interesting thing. When I was a kid, and I would had a lot of bowel problems as a kid. And so I have a lot of memories of being on the toilet in stress, right? Praying for the bowel situation to subside.
For your obstruction to be lifted.
No, there wasn't about obstructions.
Oh,
usually,
okay.
Right?
Fair enough.
And so, but I don't find myself thinking a lot about evolution and
when you're on the shitter,
when I have modern bowel distress or adult bowel distress, I don't find myself thinking a lot about science and my certainty of science.
Well, the idea
outside of just sort of a marveling that, oh, I'm so glad that I don't pray anymore while sitting on the toilet.
Well, I think the idea is that if you were in that kind of stressful situation and someone asked you questions about your belief, well,
yeah, it's going to be like, sweet
science.
Jesus, yeah, I believe in everything. Like, absolutely in science. Oh, my God. Scientific method, yeah, it's the only way I can know. No, yeah, it's the only way I can know anything. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so anyway, this
article's asking me all sorts of questions where
Right.
I would just be like, yeah, absolutely.
This article brings up some interesting thoughts. One of them being that that extremism doesn't come from theology, but rather comes from psychology, which is a thing that I totally believe. And the idea, and I think that human beings are kind of hardwired, and some a lot more than others. There have been other studies. This doesn't come up in this article, but there have been other studies that show that there are human beings who are more hardwired for. They need more dogmatic belief systems. They need to be more sure, rather than comfortable with unsurety.
I don't even need to study for that. That's like the experience of my life.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. There are people who are comfortable with the not knowing, and there are people who just have to have a belief system. They are hard. They need to believe something.
Yeah.
And there are, so I think that it brings up a valid point, which is that there are people who are every bit as dogmatically certain of certain scientific findings or whatever, as there are people who are dogmatically certain of religion.
And that's a problem.
It's a huge problem, and this is what we're getting at, is that we as people who purport to be rational thinkers, who purport to be critical thinkers, we do purport. We do purport this. It is a proportion of ours. We must hold ourselves to the rejection of dogma.
Absolutely. We must be open when new evidence comes along.
Absolutely.
And we're not just talking science here. We're talking about life.
Everything in your life.
Because new information, new, there's new shit that comes up.
Right.
That you have to like figure. You gotta, somebody's got you cornered, right?
Right.
And they're showing you the evidence. You have to be good to be like, oh.
And even one step further than that.
Yeah.
We must embrace uncertainty. We must hold ourselves to the ethic of uncertainty, which is to say, if we don't know, we absolutely have to be willing to say, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's vital to us being honest practitioners of critical thought, to be able to admit when we don't know a thing.
Yeah.
Even in the face of, and this is when it gets hard, right? You get into a conversation with somebody, they're diametrically opposed to you.
Absolutely.
They are, and you don't want to seem like you don't know, because any uncertainty feels like you're losing the argument. So, you're in an argument of, somebody's pro-choice and, they absolutely believe that conception begins at erection or whatever it is, or pro-life rather. And they're taking some crazy hardline stand.
Right.
And you want to be just as hardline because that's what feels like it will win.
Nah.
But it's not what wins.
No.
What wins is your honesty. And if you can honestly say, look, I don't know when a fetus becomes a human.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know when life begins.
Right.
But neither do you.
Right.
And your insistence that you do is based on something that is not admissible in terms of creating laws.
Right.
Your religious beliefs are not important when it comes to the creation of laws.
Well, now you have a whole new argument on your hands, Dan. You just shifted that conversation,
sure,
to another big tangled mess.
It's a mess.
Yeah.
But the point is that uncertainty doesn't lose, and it's vital that we embrace uncertainty.
Except when under bowel distress.
Well, yes.
I need certainty, Dan.
Sure. And in those cases, I can forgive you for straying.
Used to be Heavenly Father. Oh, Heavenly Father, please. Please take this from me, Heavenly Father.
Please, Heavenly Father. And did it work? Did your praying
eventually
relieve you?
Yeah, usually.
Well,
I don't have bowel distress right now. Well, so it must have worked.
It must have worked. Or, as someone who embraces the scientific method, I could say that's one hypothesis. Can you support it? Does the evidence support that?
Actually, I just lied. I actually do have bowel distress at the moment.
I wasn't going to bring it up. Which is why
it's like totally on my mind. It's totally on my mind, clearly.
As we sat down, Frank was like, okay, we may need to stop at some point during this.
I had a very spicy dinner last night. And could happen at any moment.
Oh, you poor man. You poor man. I feel like we actually but here's the great part. Here's the good news about us talking about uncertainty.
Sure.
We actually get the high ground. Even though it feels like we're losing, we actually get the high ground when we are honest about what we do and do not know.
Right.
It's when we embrace certainty, and this article is actually very good on this point. If we embrace that uncertainty, we actually become. So one of the closing ideas of the article is that if we as a society can convince ourselves that uncertainty is a vital part of science, then when something doesn't seem completely put together, like for instance, climate science we don't understand it 100% by any stretch of the imagination. Right. We know that the global temperatures are rising.
Right.
There are certain things that we definitely know.
Yes.
And certain conclusions that there is a general consensus in the scientific community about.
Yes.
But then when one of the merchants of doubt comes in and says, aha, but I have this contrary evidence, then we as a society don't go, oh no, the whole thing's falling apart. The house of cards is falling down. We can just say, okay, let's look at that.
Yeah.
Let's incorporate it into our knowledge. Oh, nope, it didn't actually change any of the conclusions, or it made a minor change.
Right.
But we're still we still need to take the actions.
We're still all fucked.
Yeah, there's still trouble.
Oh, shit. We were hopeful, actually, that you were right that the climate isn't changing.
It'd be great.
That would be awesome.
That's fantastic.
Oh, he has some evidence. He doesn't.
That's...
We're still fucked.
Our science is still better than what you've got.
Then
okay.
there's pseudoscience.
Okay, well...
We're still all gonna die.
Well, there you go. And we do our best. We do our best. And isn't that what this world is about? Encounter it as it is, people. That's all we're saying. Just be honest about what the world is and what you know about it and what you don't.
Yeah.
Because most of the things we don't know.
Oh.
The whole world is full of don't knows.
Like that feeling, Dan.
I actually love it.
That brings me no comfort, Dan.
It's a mystery.
That I don't know. I don't know how I will sleep.
You don't want to be a hardy boy of life? Going out and exploring life's mysteries?
I want everything to be constantly known.
And digestible.
And yes, in small nuggets. And easily. It's the better way,
That's
Dan.
right.
It's better.
It is better.
It's better.
It feels a lot better to a lot of people.
No, I don't want to know, Dan. I just want to go about my way. I just want to go shop at the Gap.
Mm-hmm.
And drive my SUV.
Yeah.
And just kill the planet.
Well, it'll make Jesus come faster.
And not worry about, loving my neighbor.
Right. Well, that's it. You can love your neighbor as long as they believe the same things you do. It makes it a lot easier to love them when they believe the same stuff. Anyway, yes. I thought that it was an interesting article. I feel like there's something that I feel like it's not saying to us what they are trying to say, but but it is saying, it is a valid warning to say we as believers in science need to understand that if a scientist says a thing, that's not the final word. Well, if you have anything to say in the name of Jesus Christ, amen, you are welcome to write into us. You can do so at podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or you can leave us a voicemail. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Sure. Go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist.
Or search for the TGIA Members Only Lounge on Facebook and request to join. It is a closed group.
Please do. Hey, thanks to Mackenzie for all of the amazing hard work she does on that Facebook page.
Absolutely. And thanks to the Red Rock Hot Club for letting us use their music.
It's amazing music. And thank you, dear listener, for sharing this time with us today.
Bye-bye.